So welcome once again, Hollywood Hills fans and LiveX fans alike, as we now cover show number 2 of the GXCCs. This was our round number 5, the final round of the championship out at Delmas with gnarly conditions. It was a mudder. We showed that last week with the juniors and the quads. Now the pro motorcycle categories are going to really show you how this track chewed up. This is going to be the pro categories covering the OR 1, 2s and 3s, high school senior masters, and the ladies. Enjoy the show.
We have been waiting for this one for a long time. It's round number 5 of what should have been an 8-round championship, and Delmas is going to be a brand new mud fest of a venue, and everyone is biting their fingernails. All eyes on the big banger OR1s, where Delport lost the championship lead, and Ruan Smith is looking to nail down his first ever GXCC title. In the OR2s, all about Brawler and Taki. Looks like Brawler should be good, but Taki is a mud master as well, so he could pull something back. In the OR3s, Karam is the man at the moment, but anything can, will, and always does happen in the 250 gate, but Karam has got a good, solid championship points lead. 1 to 5 has already been wrapped up by Matty Wilson, so he now jumps up into the OR2s. The Masters, Farmer looks like he's done enough to nail down his championship. The Seniors, Blau is a no-show in the Seniors, so it should be an all-out clean run for big Bruce Viljoen, because Blau is up now into the OR1 Big Bangers for the first time ever. On the ladies' gate, very small numbers, but Megan Jonker should be able to nail down her championship as well, and then we'll go and check out in next week's show all about the support classes. For now, it's the pro bikes.
What a story out of the whole shot. Wade Blau coming off, wrapping up the Seniors Championship, and pins a massive hole shot against the kids. And it was a lot of tension on the line. Ruan Smith got a good jump, as did Hein van Niekerk, but it was going to be all about to see where Delport was going to come out of the situation, because he was desperate to get the moves around and extend ahead of Ruan Smith. But out into the fields, it was all about Blau running the numbers out front. Then in the OR2s, all about Taki Bodgiodges, who was going to be tough to beat in these muddy conditions. Brawler didn't necessarily have to win the race, but it was all about pride. They went out into the fields in the number 2 spot. And Jason Fenter had joined the fray once again to see if he could be a spoiler at the final round. OR3s, the big story was on the outside, the newly crowned national, regional and club 125 champion Matty Wilson swung a leg onto a 250 for the first time. He didn't get the whole shot, but he went out of the queue inside of the top 3. The whole shot for the final time on this gate went to Vian Vensel. Peter Karam was staying well out of trouble, knowing that he simply had to bring it home for the finish to wrap up his second title in as many seasons. With the 125 high school title already wrapped up, the chase was now on for the 2 spot. Johnson was in good form, but this time around, Carl McKenzie pulled the whole shot and he took Buerta along for the ride as they stretched out front. A couple of riders went down in the early turns, and it was going to be challenging. Tough terrain for the lower power on the high school 125s in the mud and slop of Delmas. And then on the Seniors gate, which gave us a huge lineup once again. Big Bruce Viljoen muscled the big Suzuki all the way to the top of the pile. Remember, he was trying to climb the ladder and cement his number 2 spot in the championship. A huge crash for Dion DeToy, going down early on and almost tagging a lot of other riders. He'd have a busy opening lap. Thompson, though, had jumped up into the number 2 spot, and Bruce and Thompson went streaking out. On the Masters gate, once again, Warwick van Skoltwyk getting a good pull and almost going down, tagging the back wheel of Pepper. But a very rare situation occurred there. Ian Pepper, the main man from Pepson Plastics Husqvarna, got the whole shot and tried to break out clear air ahead of Farmer and a lot of his old sparring partners from motocross days. Farmer made the pass nice and early, as did Van Skoltwyk, as they went at it out into the fields. A very small entry coming in for our ladies' gate, but once again, the queen of hole shots in 2020, and now looking to be the queen of the GXCCs in the ladies' class for the championship. Megan Jonker showed a clean pair of heels once again as she streaked out into Delmas and the farms that surround the area. But what was lovely grassland in the whole shot queue was mud, slop, and very testing terrain out in the fields. The DSP was going to be busy with a lot of goggles and glove changes from now on. Out on the main loop, the riders were about to find some of the gnarly conditions and terrain that Delmas had in store for them. 5 days of torrential rain was good for the farmers and awesome for entertainment, but for the riders, it was going to be challenging. A 3-hour racing format for the ladies going out on the 55-kilometer loop meant it was going to be a long slog of a day, and a wet one at that. Marie Ellers did herself proud once again. She'd been lining up with the pro ladies, but racing out of the Pro-Am category, and once again walked away with 4th overall and a win in her class. 3rd place went to her would-be sister-in-law, that's Colin Nebua, for the Rubine Racing Squad, who once again walked away with points on the plate, even though she found some seriously deep mud holes throughout the day. And they were stealth mud holes as well. Sometimes you just didn't know how deep the river and the mud flowed. 3rd place for Nebua, she was chasing down on Karika Pieterse. Pieterse was one of the championship chasers all the way through 2019, in and out of the championship this year, but a good showing at the final round got her a tasty number 2 spot for the 3 sisters coming out of the Pieterse squad. But Megan Jonker did what she had to do the whole way through the season. It's been whole shots and wins every single time she has swung a leg over the Husqvarna. And out at Delmas, it was the perfect end to the perfect season. Not a win at every single round, but good enough to stand on top of the GXCC podium as the number 1 lady out of the Pro Ladies Gate for 2020. Another win, and the championship crown for the first time goes to Megan Jonker in 2020.
Megs, this has been your season. I know you kind of didn't have anything to prove for this last round, but tell me how the day went and then how the year went for the big number 1.
It was super good. I got off to a good start today. I got stuck in the mud 3 times on lap 2, but lap 3 went perfectly, and it was just a good season, and I'm super happy with it.
Big number 1 plates. I mean, your mom was almost going to stick you up into the boys' class this morning, and lastminute.com pulled back, eh?
Next year I'm going to race. I want to Pro-Am.
There's a big threat for the boys to watch out for. Confirmation of Jonker getting the final win of the season ahead of Karika Pieterse, Colin Nebua, and Marie Ellers rounding out a top 4 ladies gate. So what was in store for the Masters? Well, Wayne Farmer came into the final round with a championship points lead, but with nothing to prove as well. He simply needed to complete 1 lap to get the job done, and he was riding in immense pain, only coming out from surgery 1 week ago. But he did enough with 10th place to wrap up his championship. Big Harry Krobler was going to be hanging up the boots at the end of this season, and in fact at the end of this race. So good to see Big Harry on the CIT Husky squad showing the kids how to get it done in a number 9 position. Rassi Fenter muscled his way through on the track's KTM, treading carefully where he had to and holding it wide open where he could to bring it home in a sweet spot of a number 8. Ian Pepper, even though he walked away with the big hole shot on the opening lap, he didn't find the muddy conditions to his liking. It started to fade towards the end of the race, eventually walking away with a number 7 just off the podium box for the big guy running out of the Pepson Plastics factory Husky squad. Hannes Rutman, who loves the conditions out in Mpumalanga, always runs good in this kind of terrain and showed his class and skill once again as he swung a leg over the big 500 and got the job done into a number 6, the first step of the top 6 podium. The rest of the Masters were starting to find the going extremely tough. Lap on lap, the track was getting chewed up, left, right and center, and where a line was sweet 1 lap, it was no longer sweet the lap after. Ferdinand Frederick gave us a new name inside the top 5 as he tried to chase down on Johan Bosch. Bosch brought a little bit more of experience into this kind of racetrack and the terrain around Delmas and was rewarded nicely. And a new name inside the top 4 as well. Sets us up nicely, looking forward to seeing possibly a different looking top 3 in 2021. Bert Smith loves these kind of conditions, and he brought the massive 500 out once again to bring the 309 into a 3 spot. He wasn't too far off the back wheel of the ever-consistent and rock-solid Ernst Slabbert. Halfway through the season, he got picked up by the Ruban Racing squad and is going to bring them a top 3 podium in the Masters Championship at the end of the season as well. Solid podium placings every outing for Slabbert. And then the Johnny-come-lately on the tour. Only been racing GXCCs for the last couple of rounds, and Warwick van Skalkwyk once again scared the rest of the Masters. Historically, a pro motocross racer with a long history, in fact, riding for the Shell Suzuki squad back in the 90s. Now he's a master, and he is going to be the biggest threat to Wayne Farmer's title going forward into 2021. Van Skalkwyk takes the final Masters victory at Delmas in 2020.
I had you tagged for this one as well because motocross guys are always so good in the mud. Tell me how it went for you, Side.
Yes, the weather's cool, there's no dust. The traction off the track is great traction. It's an amazing race. I enjoyed it from the start. This time Wayne smoked me out of the gates, but I smoked him.
Confirmation of Van Skalkwyk at the top of the pile. In fact, at that interview, he didn't realize that Farmer had rolled out due to injuries. Slabbert getting the number 2 spot, Smitty in 3rd, Bosch and Frederick getting it inside the top 5, but Farmer's 10th cemented his title. Next up, the seniors. And with Wade Blau stepping out and already wrapping up the championship with a round to go, we were going to see different names climb into the very tippy top of the pile. Number 10 spot this time around going to Yanni Potgieter. Yanni often runs inside the top 6, so had his issues on the day. Riding out of the Bikers Warehouse Husky squad, Charles Davis was out there to look after Farmer. Didn't have to do too much looking after though, and actually got the job done inside the single digits. Walked away with a number 9 spot. DJ Milan, who was a championship contender in the early stages of the championship, but post-lockdown had some issues, and this time once again only finishing with a number 8 ride, dropping him out of the top 3 for the championship. Just outside of the top 6, number 7 spot on the day went to Werner Swanepoel, who just absolutely gelled perfectly with the race conditions. 6th spot this time around though, even though he had some monumental power slides, JJ Rousseau still walked away with the first of the podium placings in a creditable number 6 spot. After crashing hard on the whole shot queue, the big fight back on the day went to the number 5 spot, Dion du Toit. His pace showed that he should have been running well high inside of the top 3, but coming through the traffic held him back a little bit. Watch out for Dion du Toit, now on the factory CIT Husky squad, to be a massive championship player in 2021. So who broke inside the top 4? It's a new name as well. Michael Reinecker got himself his highest finish of the season inside of a top 4 finish. And that's big numbers as well. If you can beat out Dion du Toit and just finish off the top 3, a great ride coming out of Reinecker. Also setting himself up for a potential top 5 in the championship for next season. Kachi, the top Yamaha man on the season and on the day, coming out of the seniors gate. And even though he had a monumental crash in the closing stages of the final lap whilst he was dricing it out with Lee Thompson, he still managed to pick himself up after he'd rung his bell super hard and walk away with a number 3 finish on the day. During the entire 4-lap race, Thompson and Kachi were glued together. Thompson did himself proud as well. He's been in and out of the championship, but when the track suits him and when he's feeling the mojo, Lee Thompson is very near unstoppable. He walks away with the 2 spot. The only man that could beat him on the day is the man that would walk away with a 2nd place in the GXCC Championship. Big Bruce Viljoen on a Suzuki, but remember he started the year on a Honda and he had mechanical problems which dropped him outside the top 10 at round number 1. And with a 5-round championship and 0 throwaways, Bruce has had to do it all chasing from the back of the pack. He walked away with the final victory of the season. The newly crowned Inland Motocross Senior Champion just missed out on the championship for the GXCCs, but did take the final victory of the seniors.
Bruce, nice battle out there for you today, and I think maybe wet weather racing 2 weeks ago for the motocross helped you out, eh?
100%, Matt. This is like right down my alley. I mean, I had some practice last weekend, won the motocross, and then came and did the same today, which was great. I had a fat dice with Dion, and yeah, it just obviously kept me like true and like on my toes, so it was all hanging cable the whole way. But absolutely great to finish on a win, and yeah, couldn't ask for more.
Been chatting to Ivan, he says everyone's crashing their brains out. Did you have some close ones out there or what?
Yeah, obviously with the mud holes and stuff like that, you really got to try and play your cards right, and every lap it changes. So when you had a sweet line lap 2, lap 3, it's chaos. There's 10 guys stuck in that mud hole, you know, so you just got to just try and ride smart, and where you can just like really open up.
Racing late in the season, how are you feeling, dude? You seem to just get better this year.
Yeah, I must say, I did motocross just for fun, and I was actually performing better at the motocross than my GXCCs, and yeah, I must say, it's also complimented it. Yeah, like I said, it's great to just finish on a high, and yeah, I saw Blau was also doing well. He was racing R1 today, but yeah, congrats to him as well.
Confirmation of Brucey taking the final victory of the season and cementing second place in the championship points. Thompson rode out of his skin to get the second place ahead of Kochi, Reinecker and De Toy did a good fight back to eventually get the number 5 spot. 1-2-5s, and in these conditions 1-2-5s quite often do not last the race. Unfortunately, that was once again the story of this round and the season for Carl McKenzie, who's about to jump up into the 250s. Mechanicals once again held him back to a number 8 position. Josh Alexander, who had finished the morning session racing in the 85s, jumped straight onto the 125 to get himself ready for next year and walked away with a 7 spot. That is an incredible story of the day and a definitely high rider to watch out for, walking away into the 125 high schools for 2021. Sean Free, who is one of the riders that got collected in the big crash coming off the line, managed to pick himself up and get the job done into a top 6 finish. And just up the road from him was a number 5 finish coming in for Jandre van der Merwe. Jandre's been good in the early stages and definitely does prefer the more dusty hard pack races that peppered rounds 1 through 4. But round number 5 was a soul-destroying slog of 3 hours out there. And even though the track did dry up, there were parts that were never going to dry up, at least for another week. Dylan Jonker absolutely rode out of his skin, and to be fair, looked like one of his best rides of the season. The motocross style of just hanging it off the back end suited Jonker, and he was able to get the power down to a number 4 ride. Ruben Roux on the 78 Roost KTM came to life at the final round as well. 3rd place gives him his highest finish of the season and will no doubt improve him, possibly jumping him up into the top 5 for the championship standings. The man looking for a number 2 spot in the championship, Josh Johnson, who's also looking to make the move up into the 250 OR3 gate for next year, made the most of the final round of the season to get the best out of his YZ125. 2nd place on the day was the best that he could do, but he was still the top Yamaha rider. And then the guy who has been battling all season long. He's taken pretty much every podium placing you can, except the very tippy top. Well, that all changed at the final round for John Burta, and the CIT Husky rider did himself, his family and his sponsors proud by coming to life at the final round and jumping up onto the top step for the very first time and taking the last victory of 125s.
John, always great to have that last win of the season, but tell me about how gnarly it was, the conditions out there and the racing in the 125s.
Well, it was really muddy, and on the first lap I lost my roll-offs, so it was a battle, but as soon as I passed for, I came out second, and as soon as I passed for first, I had clear vision, so it was a good race.
Looked like a bit of a wild ride, always elbows up with McKenzie in the early stages, and Johnson as well, so tell me how close things got out there.
Well, myself, Carl and Josh were battling, and I passed Carl about 10 k's into the first lap, and then just went on from there.
I asked this of every guy at the end of the season, 125s, is it becoming a 250 or are you sticking with a smoker?
It looks like 125 for next year.
Joshy fighting for the 125s, it looks like one of your last races on the 125s as well, and you were in the zone once again.
Definitely a great day out there. I felt great on the bike today, not many mistakes, and we hope to be going up to 250s next year, but we'll see what my dad says.
Tell me about the terrain for the 125s. The dust and wheel spin doesn't help, but when there's traction like this, you guys fly.
No, definitely no dust today, no dust at all, lots of mud, some places slippy, some places lots of traction, but a good day out. Lots of ruts and jumps and stuff to enjoy the out.
Buerta then on the top of the pile for the first time as we close out on the season. Johnson, second place, wraps up his second place for the championship ahead of Ruby Roo. Jonker, Van der Merwe, Fourie, Alexander and Mackenzie, the top 8 in the high school 125s at Delmas. Jumping up now into the pro category, starting things out with the OR3 250s. Bernie Besatenhout, for the first time ever, jumps off his 150 machine onto a Yamaha 250 that he borrowed from a pal. It wasn't an exact fit just yet. Huge difference in power delivery from the Smoker to the Thumper. 8th place is still good though. Dav Cocker, who was definitely odds-on favourite to walk away with the win, had mechanical issues at the final round and had to settle for a number 7 finish. And watch from the sideline as the rest climb the ladder. Once again, banging home another top 6 finish, one of the finds of the season. During lockdown, switching from quad racing, where he was a potential rider to walk away with top 3s in almost every single race. Now, Baby Burger, Francois Burger Jr. is a player inside of the OR3 250s and once again takes points on a number 6 ride. Vian Wenzel suffered mechanicals. Looked like it was clutch issues that held him back towards the end of the race, dropping him outside a potential top 3 and eventually walking away with a number 5 ride. We'll be watching Wenzel to improve his consistency going forward into 2021. And then Karim, eating it, just about aquaplaning through all the mud, but he knew he just simply had to finish the day to get the job done in the championship. It was an eventual 4th place ride for him this time, and he did wrap up the number 1 plate. That's 2 wins on the bounce for Karim, backing up his incredible ride to form in 2019, where he took his first number 1 plate. And then what a story this time around. 3rd place, his first time out on an old machine, a borrowed bike, and the first time on the new gate with 250 riders, different competitors, and a different approach to the race. The newly crowned and reigning champion in the high school 125s for regionals, club, and nationals, Maddie Wilson, walked away with a 3 spot on the day, setting us up for what is going to be an amazing 2021 when he jumps up onto the 250 gate full-time. The Devastator, as he's become known for his all-or-nothing, crazy riding style, loose as a goose out there and so entertaining to watch. When in doubt, flat out is his ethos. It does often cause a couple of crashes and a couple of mechanicals along the way, but when he holds it together, he is close to unstoppable. Devin Smith for the Vans Racing Husky squad walked away with a 2 spot on the day, but no one could beat Peltzer. His consistency, form, and familiarity with this kind of riding terrain after spending a lot of time down in KZN over the last couple of seasons brought him to the top of the pile. He missed out on round number 1 of the championship and could have been a championship contender going up against Karim for the whole season. But no matter what, it's going to be Peltzer's name at the top for the final win of the season out at Delmas. Cool to see Peltzer on top, and that's going to make him pumped going forward into next season too.
Ryan, you've been picking up the pace late in the season. You didn't even know you took that win, hey? It must have been a wild last lap.
Super happy to come away with the win today. That's my ultimate goal, was to come away with the win today. It's nothing I could have done for the championship, but it's best.
I remember back in the 85 and 125 days, you were always good in the mud as well, so you must have been pumped about this. Good setup on the bike.
Yeah, I loved the mud today. Slippery, very slippery, big mud holes and stuff. Just sent it through on our 250, singing everywhere, so yeah, it was awesome.
Looks like you might have moved up into second in the championship, and if you had have raced the whole season, it might have been a championship, but that's Karim this year.
Yeah, he rode really well this year. Unfortunately, I didn't ride the first one. Bummer, but next year's... can't wait for next year.
Peter, 2 championships in a row. That's got to feel pretty good. And we've got to ask the question, is it 250 again next year or what?
Yeah, I think 1 more year and then we'll move up. But yeah, it's pretty sweet. Yes, coming into the first lap, I pushed a little bit too hard. I made a few mistakes, and then I just told myself, listen, you don't have to win the race. You must just finish. And that's what I did. So yeah, I'm happy.
Tell me about the terrain for you guys on the 250s. Mud, not always the best policy for a 250, but it seemed to work for you.
Hey, I love the mud much more than the dust, because it's not as how can I say, the mud is a lot safer than the dust. So yeah, it's awesome. It's tiring, but it's awesome.
Poulter on top for the final time then, ahead of the Devastator Smith. Wilson, an incredible ride to third place on his first time out. Fourth place, good enough for Karam to go 2x2 on the championship in 2019 and 2020. Next up, OR2s. This is where it gets a little bit wild. It was a small gate though, coming off the final round of Delmas, where a couple of guys had chosen to roll out of the championship or save their bikes going forward into next season. JJ Brits did make it onto the box in the number 6 spot. Styler, Tyler DeBrain, out of the Shimwells Racing Yamaha squad, walked away with the number 5 spot. Trying to be the top smoker on the gate. Not too comfortable with the big water splashes though on lap number 1. And that's why, those stealth holes. Clever lad is Tyler. Treads carefully where he has to. Oscar Masango, more famous for racing in other tours, going up mountains and down cliffs. This time around, he rolled out for the final round to get a bit more racing under his belt before Christmas closed down, and cool to see him walk away with a number 6 ride. Finding some of those big holes with those short legs. Jason Fenter, who was in line to wrap up the championship after tied on points coming out of round number 2 with the Brawler, but a big crash at round number 3 and a no-show at round number 4 dropped him out of championship contention. He was still good enough though at the final round at Delmas to get a number 3 finish to round out his treacherous season in 2020. So the top 2, once again, it was going to be about the Brawler and Taki Bogiorgis. The Brawler is so good in the dust and rocks, but in the wet, you cannot go up against Taki Bogiorgis and think it's going to be a cool ride. Brawler did an incredible job to walk away with a number 2 spot, even though he had some big issues out there on the course. He never quits. That's why we call him the Brawler. He fights through absolutely everything, and his second place in the day was good enough to nail down his second championship in a row. Taki Bogiorgis has worked so hard the last 2 seasons to come back to full fitness after an almost career-ending back injury 2 seasons back. He's been getting better, faster and more confident every single time he rolls out the gate, and at Delmas, it was picture-perfect conditions for Taki to rise to the tippy top once again as he hammered the nail, took the win in the OR2s, and also took the overall victory of the season to show that Taki is back.
Taki, great to see you back, and when it rains, it's nice to see it rain for a start. It's nice to see you get back on top as well.
Yeah, I must say I've never gotten a pair of those X-ray goggles for the dust, but when it rains I love it, and today was one of those. I absolutely loved it. Went out and had such a jewel on the bike and felt good. The bike was on the limiter all the way and I just loved every moment.
Tell me about that dice, firstly with the Brawler and secondly with the Super Senior.
Yeah, well, with Ian on the first lap we had a proper dice and he pulled away from me. On the second lap he just put it down in a bit of a mud patch and I managed to get past him. And then I just knew that with the Brawler behind me I've got to drop the hammer as hard as I can. And then yeah, towards the end as well I caught Wade Blau and he was just on it as well and threw some big bricks at me with through the clay sections, but I loved it. And I just have to say thank you to the Pepsin Plastics Motorlascavana team. I mean, my pits were flawless, my bike's flawless, and I just loved every single second.
Brawler, always entertaining to see you racing out there. Tell me about not just the race but a couple of dives in the mud as well.
Yeah, definitely like to play in the mud today. Yes, there's deep ruts there in the mud, and I went down over that one, tried to jump it, and the bike just sank, and I dove right into the mud. My whole bike and everything is just mud everywhere. Yeah.
What about the racing as well? I mean, end of lap number 1, it looked like you were about to actually get yourself up into a good strong overall, and then busy with those 450s. Hey, they were all over you today.
Yeah, no, they were on it. I really tried to catch them in the beginning, so I think I pushed a bit too hard, pulled a gap on Taki, and then the second lap I just tumbled in another mud section. I almost threw the championship away, so I was like, no, be smart, not fast today, just smart.
Yeah, second place today, good enough for the championship, so that's another big number 1 for the Brawler.
Yeah, definitely. Super, super happy. I just want to thank all my sponsors, Fast KTM. KTM South Africa, they gave me a bike for this last race. Really thankful for that. And the Lord for keeping me safe. Dragon Energy, Mark Henderson, just everyone, Cycleworks, everyone that's helping me out. Couldn't have done it without them. So
We'll catch you up in the off-season, but it sounds like you're getting onto new wheels for 2021 as well.
definitely, yeah. Some new hardware, so it's going to be fun.
We'll be watching out for that. Congrats though to Taki for arriving at the top step once again after his tough journey. He gets the final win of the season ahead of the Brawler. Fenta, good enough for the 3 spot on the day. Musanga enjoyed the outing for the first time and walked away with a 4 spot ahead of the Styler and Brits. Next up, the big bangers, which gave us a good gate actually for the last round of the season. A couple of Johnny-come-latelys on the tour. Hendrik Rutt had come down from the Northwest Province to come racing in the mud of Delmas and walked away with a 9 spot. He, though, did say he had such a good time, he's going to be on the gate full-time in 2021. We can't wait to have him up racing with us. Even though there was a little bit of formation flying and flailing in the mud, he still recovered and got the finish done. Bam Bam, as we like to call him, Brendan Rush, who had gambled on going on Smokers 300 style the whole way through the season, walked away with a number 8 ride. He actually had to retire his bike late on in the race. He said the engine was about to let go and he didn't want an expensive Christmas this time around. Muscled his way through though to an 8 finish and walked away with a top 5 in the championship. Up the road from him was a heartbreaking story. Veinard Dalport, who was in sight of a championship, onto the final lap until terminal clutch problems and eventually a collapsed moose sent him to the sidelines. 7th place dropped him out of the championship lead, and he would have to sit on the sidelines doing running repairs, watching his championship rival ride past and eventually take the championship. Veinard, though, is a tough character and he took it all on the chin. Brought it home no matter what, showing to the kids what you have to do in cross-country racing. Even though it's on a bare-naked rim, get it to the line. So who was up the road? Well, it was the return of Bradley Engelbrecht. He also came into the championship late on in the season and has been something of a revelation because he's been bringing home top 6 rides almost every single time. And with him on the tour full-time in 2021, we're going to expect to see him tickling the podiums almost every single time he goes out. He doesn't seem to have a chink in his armor, whether it's dry, dusty, or rocky and muddy. Ruan Potgieter also is a rider that can run inside the top 3, but he's been in and out of consistency and form the whole way through 2020. But this time around, the mud worked to his advantage, and he walked away with a rock-solid number 5 ride. Up the road from him was the guys that were biting their fingernails, trying to get those points on the plate for the championship. This is the story of the season. Ruan Smith going into round number 4, gambling on changing machinery from a 450 to a 300 smoker, and that's where he picked up the championship lead. Coming into this round, he had 1 single point advantage over Veinard Dalport, and he brought it home with a number 4 finish ride on the day, and that was good enough on the season to cement a championship. He won it a few seasons back, he gets it back once again. And then the super senior, Wade Blau, after wrapping up his championship in the Nationals, Regionals and Clubs at the previous event, decided to scare the kids and lined up on the big banger OR1 gate. He walked away with a big hole shot and didn't really fade too much further back after that, walking away eventually with a number 3 finish come the end of the season, showing that the older you get, if you're Wade Blau, the faster you get. And then to wrap up his heartbreaking season of 2020, Hein van Niekerk Jr. was pretty much running away with this race. He had the lead on lap 1, 2, and 3, and even though he had a couple of OTBs and went out the front door, he was still in the lead until the last couple of kilometers where the bike let go. He still powered it through into a number 2 spot, but that elusive victory just doesn't seem to come to Hein. On the day, he was bars up and elbows battling the whole day with JC Nienober, who has been climbing the ladder consistently and furiously in the second half of this season. A couple of problems early on in the championship seemed to be a thing of the past for JC, and even though he joined Hein van Niekerk in the mud inspection category, he got up, ripped the bars, and took the final win of the season to actually move up into 2nd for the championship.
JC, what a story, man. I mean, second place, what happened on that last lap? Because that's what it came down to.
No, yes, me and Ian was battling from the get-go. Like really, then it's me coming past him, then he comes past me, roosting each other, just, giving the sparks all of it. And then he pulled quite a gap on me. I had a few crashes in the mud holes there. But just kept it consistent after that, and I saw that Ian had a bit of bike issues, so I started catching, and then eventually I passed him here on the last lap. Came over the line first, and I'm happy about it again.
Last win of the season, that's got to pump you up for next year.
Yeah, 2 wins in a row, I'm pretty happy with that.
Hein, dude, you promised me that win, and for 3 laps, it looks like you were going to deliver it. What happened on the final lap?
Yeah, I pushed the bike past his limit, and as I pulled the gap, just felt more confident every lap. But unfortunately, this old pony couldn't keep up with my pace. The fitness is good, track is good. I had a proper battle with JC, best friend from high school, and been racing for quite a few years, and it was an enjoyable race by far. Definitely next year I have to get a new pony to stay on top.
Wade, awesome to see you line up with the kids, as we like to call them, on the big bangers. Tell me about the day and those last couple of laps. Banging bars.
Yeah, man, I got such a good start. I got the whole shot. It's funny, I can't whole shot the senior class, but I could whole shot the main class. So I had a great start, and then I had a few issues. My tripper came loose, so it was hanging over my arms over the first lap, and everyone got past. I think I fell back to 5th or 6th, and then second lap caught up to 3rd, and that's where I held it for the day.
Tell me about those kids on that last lap as well. Taki said he came up to you and you were throwing all kinds of rubbish at him, and then Brawler gave you the horns on that last couple of kilometres.
Yeah, we fought right till the end over here. I hope I didn't interfere with anybody's championship, but I really was here to have fun, and it was great fun today. Thank you very much.
Ruan, 1 point advantage coming into this race, and for 3 laps you were out of this championship. You only nailed it on the final lap. Tell me how you're feeling.
Look, Matt, I was racing big before the event started. Everybody was just saying good luck, do your best, and when I started, I think I went out on 3rd, and JC passed me, and then I realized this is going to be a fast day. And after lap 1, I was behind Wade Blau and Wynand Dalport. They both passed me, and after that I just kept pushing. I told my pit crew I'm going to wait for something to happen. Hopefully I get the championship, but I'm trying my best, pushing as hard as I can. But yeah, I'm happy to go away with the win, but I'm sad for Wynand. It sounds like he got some problems with his clutch. I'm sad about that.
Tell me about the number 1 plate though, because the decision to change bikes late in the season, I was scared for you, dude.
No, exactly. I was scared as well. The last race at Race Me Built, I think that was a good decision to move to the 300. But today, this was a new event, and we didn't think it's going to be a fast one. I thought it's going to be a muddy, technical race, but it wasn't. It was a flippin' fast race today. And we hang tight, and we got that number 1.
Feyenoord, I wish from the bottom of our heart this was a different conversation. I think you do as well, but tell me the story, what's happened to the bike.
Yeah, it just hasn't been my week. I felt strong, and then on the 4th lap the clutch went out, and I thought, okay, well, I can manage that. I can deal with it. And about 5 k's further, I could feel the back wheel starting to slip, and then I looked back in the rim, the tyre was off the rim, and I stopped, and I heard the bike boiling. So then I knew, there's some more problems. So I fixed that. I took the radiator covers off to get them to breathe a bit. Clutch came back, so that was obviously the problem there. But by then Ruan has already passed. Major respect to Ruan. He really deserves it. They put a lot of effort into the sport, and all the competitors. It obviously wasn't my year. I can't say, I gave it my all. The team gave it all. And the family and all the sacrifices that we made, and you guys, Matt. You were there the whole time. The team was there, the TV crew and all that. But so I won't be riding next year. There's no plans for me for next year. I will be supporting the team though. There's plans for the team and the youngsters. But it is what it is.
And that's what it was. The final race decided the championship, and the final winner of the season was JC Nienaber ahead of Hein van Niekerk Jr. Wade Blau, what a story for him, the super senior in the 3 spot, and Ruan Smith, 4th place, was good enough to give him his 2nd GXCC championship. Congrats to the 59. What a story on the season, and Delmas, what a venue to wrap up the championships in the pro classes.
So as you can see, it was an absolute pearl of a race. Couple of surprise results, couple of great champions crowned across all the categories. But wait guys, there's still more to come. Next week, it's going to be all about our final show for the GXCC Championship for 2020, where we round out on our support classes. That is the Pro-Ams 1, 2, 3 and the WOW classes. So there's still more to come guys. Don't go nowhere.